Illustrator lets you inflate an object by attaching an extra amount of fill and path around the object. This is called offsetting a path, and it's what I want to show you here. If you still have the file open from the previous lesson, you can continue with it. If not, you can open up my version. I've called it Leaves 4, and you'll find it in the Chapter 5 folder of the project files. What I want to start off with is just zooming in on the leaves on the top here. So you can zoom in whichever way you like. I'm in Windows, so I'm going to hold the Alt key down and roll the mouse wheel. If you're on the Mac, you can hold the Option key, or there's any number of ways of zooming in. It's all fine. Let's start off by selecting the object. So I have just the regular old selection tool. I'll click the object. And let's go up here to the Object menu, down to Path, and from the flyout, we'll choose Offset Path. This is where the magic happens. And you see what's happening here. We have an offset number. We have a technique for how joins are going to be. Joins are like how two lines like this are going to join, and what the miter limit is. Mitering is how those lines are joining. Like a lot of other dialog boxes in Illustrator, we have a preview. So before we do anything, let's just turn that on. And as soon as you turn it on, you see what's happening is we have an offset of 0.05 inches, and that miter limit is not really obvious right now what that is. We'll see that in a moment. First, let's change the offset. I'm going to double it. Instead of 0.05, I'm going to set this to 0.1, and then just press the Tab key, and you see what happens. Now we have double that offset amount. Now, as far as mitering goes, think of mitering corners. Let's take a look, for example, at the points of these leaves here. I'm going to change this miter limit. Instead of 10, I'm just going to make that 1. And look at that. The tips of these leaves are kind of cut off, like we clipped them off with the scissors. And some of the little internal paths here are also cut off. I don't really like that effect, so I want to boost it. And the thing about the mitering limit is there comes a point where there's really no more mitering. They're kind of joined normally, and boosting it won't have much of an effect. So let's say, for example, maybe if I set this to 8, you see that some of this comes back. Well, maybe not all of it. If I go and set that to, let's say, 12, it comes back. Or maybe if I set it to 20, there's really not a heck of a lot of difference there. So if I set it to maybe 8 or 10 as opposed to 15 or 20, there's no difference. Now, as for the type of join, instead of miter, I'll choose round, and now you see what's happening is it's kind of rounding those corners. Or maybe if I want them beveled, sometimes beveled and mitered will be the same. It really depends on how the thing is drawn. Again, let's say if I set this to 1, it's going to be about the same thing. So it really depends on the way it's drawn. So I'm going to set this back to miter, and I'm going to set this back to, let's say, 10. Because I want to show you a neat effect. Since we have this extra offset area and this extra path, we can kind of format those like they're separate objects. We could apply different color to the fill and to the stroke than we have in the original object, so we can get some interesting effects. So let's do this. Click OK, leave it the way it is, leave those numbers, click OK, and just click off it and deselect. Now let's get the direct selection tool here and click in this offset area. Now when you do, you see it shows that the fill is green, right? Because there's green here, you can see green there. What I want to do is I just want to remove the color. So we'll have the green fill of the original, and then we'll have sort of like a double blue line, a double blue path with nothing in between. So we can simply click the fill box here and then click the slash, and now we have something like that. So you can scroll down if you want. So we have kind of an interesting effect. It's sort of like a double line there. Now maybe let's do the reverse. Let's say we want a color there, but we want to get rid of the color on the outer stroke. So maybe I'll set that to, I don't know, I'll go to the swatches panel and I'll set that to yellow of some sort. And now I'll click off it and I'll click right on the outer path. So you see where my mouse pointer is here. I'm clicking on the outer path and on the fill so that it's that path that's selected. And you take a look here in the color boxes, we can see it's the path color that's selected. Click that. And now here, I'll click the little slash and click so we get rid of that. So again, that's just a different effect. Then I'll zoom out. I'll press Control-0, or you can press Command-0 on the Mac. And you may like it, you may not. There's no right way or wrong way. But just to show you that the offset path feature will let you have a little bit of extra fill and a little bit of extra path if that's something that you want. I think you can do some pretty cool things with it.